Hello, and welcome to the Excluto podcast. I'm your guest host, Vijay Rajendran. I'm a Silicon Valley-based angel investor and executive coach to founders in startups as well as venture investors. I'm pleased to welcome you to today's podcast, which is on cross-border SaaS, investing in India's startup ecosystem with Radhesh Kanumury. As with other podcasts from Excluto, this is not intended as investment, legal, or tax advice, and is purely for educational and informational purposes. We'll start with a background on Radhesh and his experience as managing partner at Suvan Ventures, also as managing partner at Archiventure Labs, and an advisor for Bloom Ventures. And also get to know him and his experience, which includes over 18 years with IBM, and his focus on software as a service startups, building in India and selling in the US. I'm really looking forward to today's conversation and pleased to welcome Radhesh to today's podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Vijay, for having me. Really appreciate your time and looking forward to our conversation.
Super. Let's kick things off and get to know you a bit better. Tell us a little bit about your background and your journey into the startup and venture capital world.
Yeah, sure. Before that, I would like to talk a little bit about my experience in IBM and how that transition happened to startups and then finally to the VC world. So I joined IBM in 2000 as a tech specialist in the services arm of IBM India, and I was implementing ERP and supply chain solutions for enterprises. I had a few successful live implementations, and then I decided to become a software IT architect in the software division of IBM. And I used to design software solutions for enterprise clients, system integrators, and ISVs across a whole array of technologies, starting from application servers to database to portals to application integration, content management, security, infrastructure management, application monitoring. So that was a very strong exposure for me around the technology side. And many of the solutions I used to lead towards sales closure as well. So it was a solid exposure for me in the sales side as well. I did that for around 12 years, and then I said to myself that maybe I think I should try out something new. And this role for heading the startup initiative for IBM India came up, and I took up that role. And surprisingly, nobody was at that point looking forward for that role. And so when I took up that role, scaled that program from zero presence in the startups ecosystem to more than 1,000 plus startups, and it was generating considerable revenue for IBM Cloud. And annually, I used to conduct an annual B2B Startup Challenge. That was the first of its kind by any institution in the country. And I picked up some good B2B startups early in the life cycle in 2014, 15, and 16. There are quite a few media coverages. Even now, you'll find them. So a bunch of the startups actually went on to raise their follow-on rounds, and then quite a few startups actually went beyond Series C. To give some examples, Hasura, which is a unicorn right now, they were just a very small team when I had picked up in 2015 B2B Startup Challenge. Similarly, there are companies like Sigtuple, Sirion Labs, uh, Medica Bazaar, then Bizango. All these companies are beyond Series C. And what I found that at that point of time, there is a certain need for a focused fund for B2B SaaS companies in the country. And so that's when the entrepreneurial bug bit me hard. And I decided to take a transition towards the VC world. And the first thing that I had, so I joined Bloom as a venture advisor for a short period, and later on co-created this fund called Arca Venture Labs with three funds coming in as anchor partners, and we were basically the thesis was to invest in B2B SaaS companies between India and US cross border. By that, what I mean is that having a base in India but selling to the global markets. So we made 27 investments across AI, ML, uh, DevOps, cloud, medtech, media tech, energy tech, retail tech, commerce tech, Industry 4.0, future of works. And out of those 27 investments, we got five exits, and then a good set of companies went on to raise their follow-on rounds from some marquee investors like uh, Insight Partners, B Capital, Facebook, Matrix, Lightspeed, Sequoia. And then now I have set up this fund called Suvan Ventures with the same thesis as the previous fund. And we made our first investment in a company called Canlan.ai and closed a term sheet again in the commerce tech space. I can talk about it once probably we have closed the investment. Right now it's under, we are doing the due diligence on the legal side.
Funny. So, with all the different funds you've been a part of, with all the different startups that you've seen, and particularly the ones that have been successful, today, what are your key criteria and characteristics you're looking for in a potential portfolio company?
So on a base level, we look to see that they need to have at least their MVP in place, and they're catering to the global clients. Could be in the US, Europe, or Middle East, which is coming up as a very strong market. So that is the fundamental characteristic that we look into. And once this baseline is crossed, and it has to be B2B SaaS. So beyond this, we then start looking into the team now, how complementing the founding members to each other, what has been their background in that particular area of solution that they are building right now. What is the kind of their ability and the leadership to execute the things that they are talking about. So team is super critical according to me. And after that, we look into the total addressable market. How big is the market of opportunity? And if the market opportunity again is a good take, then we look into what are the how is the competitive landscape of this company. And if there are a lot already competitors, then we look into what are the differentiation these company will bring into. Differentiation can be in terms of the product, it can be in terms of technology, it can be in terms of a specific market segment that has still not been catered to by existing players. It can be in the way they are servicing the customers, which is very unique to what how the existing players are serving their customers. So these things kind of come into the play when we are looking into the differentiation. And also sometimes what happens is that even though there are players, but the market opportunity is so large enough that there is a room for a new entrant to come in, even without any differentiation also. So that's also we kind of take into consideration.
See, um, and when you think about how you really accelerate growth, where does that acceleration come from? Where do you see these companies able to really take off?
So I would say that the fundamental thing that they need to look out for is the sales. And this is one thing that I've seen is that Indian founders are typically good in the technology side, product side. Sales and marketing is an area where Indian founders need to improve. So I put a lot of emphasis on the sales side, and then the rest of the things can follow around sales. So now to get to the sales, it's very important to kind of go through that whole cycle of who could be the ideal customer profile you start off with some assumptions and with some pricing baseline, and then it's an iterative process. Then you kind of, after certain iterations, you kind of say that, okay, this is the kind of ICP that I would like to go after, and this pricing actually works well
And
with the
ICP is,
ideal customer profile.
thank you. Yes. Good.
So that will have characteristics like role. Am I looking out for a CTO working in a bank, um, working in banks, working in the New York area, having uh, revenues of more than 100 million, maybe using Salesforce as the CRM. So this could be as detailed one can get into. Uh, that's uh, that's a definition of an
Yeah,
ICP. So
exactly. You have to have that clarity in terms of who you're looking for.
yeah.
And then in your own business, who are the type of people who are LPs or limited partners investing in your fund?
Yeah, it has been investors like HNIs, ultra HNIs, family offices. So those are the kind of profile of people who have been investing into the fund.
Right. And there's a wealth of different places to invest in, no pun intended, and ways to put your money to work. So, what draws people to venture?
So I would say that folks who want to look into the India opportunity. Now, India is a big opportunity where they are especially if we talk about Indian B2B SaaS companies. This is like reports from the likes of ENY, Bain and Company, McKinsey, Bessemer Ventures. They have done extensive work and research in this particular specific area, and these see a strong potential for Indian B2B SaaS companies. And the reasons obviously are very logical in nature. Strong technology workforce in India, a very growing startup ecosystem right now, number three in the globe in terms of the largest, third largest startup ecosystem. And if you look into the 80s and 90s, early 2000, it was all about system integrators from India who have scaled very well. They have created trillions of dollars of valuation. But I think the next wave is going to be all about product companies. So people who see this opportunity for Indian B2B SaaS companies, they are the ones who kind of get excited.
Thinking about that opportunity for internationalization, tell us, what do you think people should know about the difference between the venture ecosystem and the LP attitudes as well behind that venture ecosystem in the US versus India? Like, what are some of the contrasts you find when it comes to investor mindset or appetite for risk and the strategies that people have?
I see now a good amount of appetite amongst the Indian investors as well. I mean, it has been traditionally there in the US, and that's why we have seen that rise of so many startups from the early stage to the IPO. In the US, for example, around 15% of the workforce or 20% of the workforce is actually by companies who have been funded by VCs. So that's the kind of how vibrant the VC ecosystem has been and the funding ecosystem has been. And I think in India, last 10 to 15 years is where it has really caught up. And I see a lot of folks who are diversifying their investments in the startup world as well as in the VC fund. So, but I think there's a lot to catch up. But
Mhm.
definitely there's strong interest, and then I see that interest growing up. The untapped space is, I think the HNIs and ultra HNIs or family offices living in tier two and tier three cities. They have been doing the traditional business and not exposed to the digital wave. I think that's a lot can be done to educate them to kind of uh, see there if they can put some of the time and energies into the startup world as well.
Right. And certainly there's a lot of opportunity for both cross-border and I guess, intra-India investment that can come from that.
Yeah, absolutely. And cross-border is something that is given that there's strong arbitrage. You make in India, but sell to the global markets. So make in India is at a much lesser cost, but the margins are much bigger if you look into the Western market. So makes a lot of sense to make in India and sell to the Western markets. And then there are a lot of high chances of getting acquired uh, by by this kind of arrangement. So it makes so I think it's a very good area for Indian B2B SaaS companies to have that kind of focus uh, and attention.
Now, fast forwarding a few years, what does the B2B SaaS landscape look like in India in 5 or 6 years?
This is going to be definitely on the rise. As I said, I think the next wave, the earlier wave was about system integrators, services companies from India. They have scaled well, creating trillions of dollars of valuation. The next wave is going to be all, I think, according to me, B2B companies, product companies, and SaaS companies. So you will have people developing products in India, but catering to the global market. So definitely there's going to be a strong growth in terms of these kind of companies and also scaling of these companies. So definitely huge opportunity. And as I said, the likes of ENY, Bain, Bessemer Ventures, and our local firms like Motilal Oswal, Zeno Consulting, they also have further validated the fact about
Mhm.
the strong potential for Indian SaaS companies.
And what will Suvan Ventures be like in 5 or 6 years? What are your ambitions?
Ambition would be to see that we have made the investments, we plan to make around 20 to 25 investments across generative AI, uh, DevOps, security, cloud, future of work, sales tech, marketing tech, commerce tech. So a bunch of these areas in the B2B SaaS space. And probably most of these companies will have AI as an enabler, or it will be around AI. So that's a very it goes without saying that there will be a like AI element to all the investments. So
Yeah.
in 5 to 6 years, I think we should be completing these investments and then also throwing some positive returns to investors, and the fair market value, I would like to expect it to be in some multiples.
Uh, for folks that want to follow what you're doing and keep in touch with the developments at Suvan Ventures, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, they can actually look into I mean, we have a handle in LinkedIn and as well as on Twitter. They can follow that up. Important updates are also going in, and they can also follow our newsletters. They can subscribe to that.
Very good. Thank you so much. Time has flown. It's been such a delight, Radhesh, to have this conversation, to hear about your journey as well as the things that you're doing, building, creating, investing in with Suvan Ventures. And again, thank you for your time and for sharing your insight, experiences, and also things that people who may be potential LPs in the world of venture should know from a knowledge perspective.
Sure. Thank you, Vijay, for having me. It was a pleasure talking to you.